I'd like to thank all of our sponsors for helping paying for this event. Now, our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, you were here last year. You know that we have a section on our agenda where we bring in a third party to talk about wholesaling best practices. And so in this session today, this year, we have the estimable Mr. Brian Margolis. Mr. Margolis, will you join us, please? From Productivity Giant. Many of you know him. He actually comes highly recommended from many of you. pgwholesaling.com. Brian, take it away, my friend.
I saw this. Okay, cool. I saw this group last night on a boat, I believe. You were a little louder. Not gonna lie, as I was walking up and down the river walk. But look, I have to dive right into this. Marlon has asked me to take an hour-long training and shove it into 20 minutes. Considering I did a wholesaler event yesterday and it was a 5-hour workshop on getting more meetings, this is gonna be a little different pace, fair enough? And so the way I have it set up, and I just wanna be clear, I don't want anyone to think I'm being short with you, is at this website, pgwholesaling.com, which is complimentary. Thanks for that, Marlon, not free. It's complimentary. There is a ton of audios and videos on all the things I'm gonna hit, especially in the last slide. And the reason I say that is because obviously I don't have the time to get into anything. So if you hear a topic or something, you can obviously dive onto there, drop in your email, get access to all the free resources. That plug is over. My background, the 8-second version, at this point in the game, in addition to all the work I've done with asset managers and insurance companies, I've literally done thousands and thousands of individual wholesaler coaching sessions. I recognize some faces in the crowd today. Some of you have been clients of mine. Some of you are clients of mine, and I appreciate that. But the reason I tell you that, the thousands and thousands of sessions, is because what I'm gonna talk about is based on what I'm actually seeing in the field. It's not theory, it's not what's supposed to work, right? It's not what your company says is gonna work, right? It's what's actually working in the field. And so today I wanna talk about, I think I just went backwards here. Did I lose my ability to? There we go. What I'm gonna talk about today, and it goes right along with the previous speaker, which is great. Today is about simplifying. Today is about less. Today is about a simple weekly strategy for wholesalers. And what my goal is as follows. I wanna show you a way, all right? I wanna show you a way or introduce you to a way in this session to go from a reactive business to an intentional business. And what I mean by that is when we talk about having a reactive business, what a reactive business is when you take your skills and talent and your work ethic and you just grind. You go, 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 more. And I'm gonna be honest, you can grind your way to a certain level of success. And some of you might be happy there. But if you are grinding, if you are running a reactive business and changing directions with the wind and you feel like a ping pong ball, every time you get an email, you change, you hear an idea, you change, you don't know what to do, so you just do more of something, right? I want to help you today. And here's how I think about a reactive business. Think about a heater outside, a perfectly good heater outside. The heat is perfectly good. The problem is most of that heat is wasted. Does that make sense? It just kind of dissipates. That's a reactive business. The intentional business is when you take your skills, talent, and work ethic, but you add a strategy to go next level, and you can define what next level means to you. But I'm going to define for you what I mean by a strategy. And a strategy is when you, the CEO of your business, predetermine where to focus your skills, talent, and work ethic to get the biggest return on investment. Does that make sense? You decide where to focus it to get the biggest ROI. One of the great definitions I've ever heard of strategy is taking limited resources, that's your time and mental energy, and your budget, right? Your time, your mental energy, your budget, taking those limited resources, and applying it to an unlimited opportunity. And that's what you want to think about as a strategy. And I think the best way to describe it is to talk about the parable of the fly. Can we all agree that flies are pretty good at flying? I mean, we literally named them the fly, right? It is the ultimate honor. They are fast, they are nimble, they will fly all frickin' day. So why does one fly wind up dead on the windowsill and another fly zips right out the door? They're both really good at what they do, but one has taken their talent, their skill, their work ethic and pointed it in one direction, and one has pointed it in a very different direction. Are you connecting with this? Right? And what it should lead you to conclude is that being good at something is different than being successful. And so if you're thinking you are talent in park, all right? If you're thinking, now don't say this out loud, but if you're thinking, man, I'm better, I'm smarter, I work harder than these people who are producing more than me, this is likely the issue. That you are good at what you do, you're good at your craft, you're just not running a successful business. Make sense? And that's what I want to talk about. Now, you've got to have the right strategy, okay? You've got to have the right strategy. And so the system I want to introduce you to create this simple weekly strategy is something called the pillar system. And when you go on that site, pgwholesaling.com, there's a free copy of my book, there's audio recordings of me helping wholesalers. There's so much stuff on there for you to do this yourself. Like I said, I got 20 minutes. I can't do everything, but I can help you take step one. And honestly, I'm hoping based on the last talk that you guys pick this, right? He said pick one thing. I'm hoping you pick this, okay? Even if you don't hire me, I hope you decide to actually create a weekly strategy and stop running around like a chicken with its head cut off, okay? And what the pillar system does, is we're gonna take every activity that you could be doing with your time. Would you agree there's no shortage of that? There's all sorts of stuff you could be doing that's business related, right? And we're gonna run it, when you see this, through a set of criteria, through a set of questions. And what's gonna come out the other side, okay, are what we call these weekly pillars. This list is gonna be short enough to fit on an index card. For those younger people, I will show you later where to download an index card, okay? And the idea is, look, these pillars are activities that you control. This is the key. These are not hopes, goals, whatever. These are activities that you control, because here's what I believe: you have to focus on the lead indicators. You will be if you focus on lag indicators, production and sale, you will be on an emotional roller coaster, and you will change direction when you shouldn't, and you won't change direction when you should. Look, some of you will have a better week of sales this week, while the majority of your time is spent at a conference, than you did last week when you were working on your business for 5 days. Do you understand that? That doesn't mean you should go to a conference for 4 days and get on party boats every week, right? Of course not. You've got to focus on the lead indicators. And the idea is very simple. As long as you execute on these pillars, whether you have 4 pillars or 8 pillars, whatever it is, as long as you execute on them, you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, on Friday night, what we call the Friday night feeling. I see you, Chris, smiling. You have the Friday night feeling. What does that mean? You know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you had a great week, that you are 1 week closer to where you're trying to go. You're not basing it on sales. You're not basing it on what happened 2 hours before you wrapped up. You've got the Friday night feeling. Make sense? All right. I'm going to skip the whole part where you figure out how to do this. All right. You can read that part. I have an audio training on it. It's not rocket science. Let's put it that way. The name of my book is The Index Card Business Plan. So I'm about simplifying things, not complicating. But what I want to do to bring this into clarity is I want to spend the remainder of my talk showing you 2 different wholesalers in 2 different situations and what their pillars are, what their weekly strategy is. Fair enough? All right. Notice the title of this slide, not the key, but your key. You can't just look at a wholesaler who's also doing this, who maybe is where you want to be, and copy their pillars. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of variables, the maturity of your territory, your skills, your strengths, all different things that go into it. that determine where you get the best ROI for your time and mental energy. Make sense? So this is an individual process. This is an established wholesaler, and this is the part where I'm going to keep throwing you to the complimentary audios and videos. Marlon, you may have just changed my business, man. Free. I don't give free stuff away. It's complimentary. But this is an established wholesaler. And again, I'm going to be a little short with you, but so every week he does 7 things. And as long as he hits these 7 things and he's uber successful, he's good, man. Number 1, he creates his hit list for the week. What does that mean? He goes through who he wants to schedule, put on the books for the future. He does his thinking, considers time, circumstance, who are the best people I should be seeing, and he creates his hit list. That way, when he actually is scheduling that week, he no longer has to think about it. There's not a randomness to it. It's very intentional, all right? He then has a pillar of scheduling 15 meetings for the future. Of those 15, at least 7 have to be what him and I call $1 million meetings, and that's just a criteria that he has around some of his advisors, right? But I want you to notice exactly what I said. I did not say he has to have 15 meetings a week, because you don't control whether you have 15 meetings a week. That's determined by stuff you did prior to the week. It's determined, do people schedule, recancel? I know advisors never reschedule and cancel, but if they did, right? See, you don't control that stuff. Now, for this gentleman, it's a predictable result. He's established. He knows if he puts out the calls, the emails, he'll put 15 on the books every week for the future, whether that's for tomorrow or whether that's for 2 months from now. For you, it might not be a predictable result, and so this wouldn't be a pillar. It's not in your control. But you might have a pillar of, I'm going to reach out twice to X number of advisors, right? The part you control. He then asks 5 clarifying questions. Okay, for those who know me, you know what I'm about to talk about, clarifying conversations. A clarifying conversation, very simply, is how do you go from the soft yes of, oh, that's great, send me a fact sheet, or let's circle back next quarter, or, thanks for coming by, I'll put it on the watch list, right? How do you go from that to the truth so a meeting ends in the 3 ways a meeting is supposed to end? And so by him asking 5 clarifying questions a week and holding himself accountable, he knows he's going to have at least 5 clarifying conversations, okay? And he's not going to tap out early in meetings when they go, send me a fact sheet, and you go, okay. And then you go tell your boss you had a great conversation. Look, we don't get paid on conversations, all right? Number 4, review his pipeline twice a week. By the way, the clarifying questions, there's a video on this about 3 ways a meeting should end, so you'll see all that. Review his pipeline twice a week. That is his follow-up pillar to make sure nothing falls through the crack. There's literally a video that says follow-up system. It's 12 minutes long. To me, it is still to this day the most powerful follow-up system there is. So that by him reviewing his pipeline twice a week, he's good. He then sends 3 non-sale touches. You're not going to be surprised, but there's an audio training for this, okay? A short audio training. What are non-sale touches? It's gift giving on steroids. Okay, it's gift giving on steroids to your warm market. He then spends 30 minutes a week working on effective messaging. This is a learning pillar. Look, here's the thing about learning and being effective. Most of us don't do it enough. We focus too much on how many at-bats we get and not enough on our batting percentage. And here's the thing, a lot of you who have been around for a little while, you're comfortable. You're comfortable in meetings. You can answer all the questions. You can have the conversation, no sweat. Guys, gals, there's a big difference between being comfortable and being effective. And effective is when you know how to use words and you know how to communicate in a way so people understand you, and when appropriate, do what you'd like them to do. Now, I saw outside, it was so cool, Marlon, I did not know Marlon had a book. And I started flipping through it. I wasn't sure if it was complimentary or not, so I put it back down. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about that book. In the little time I flipped through it, I was like, oh my God, this is effective messaging. Okay, so he spends 30 minutes every week, which I don't think you guys realize how much time that is. That's a lot of time to become a ninja at all points, whether that's writing emails people respond to, whatever it is. By the way, there's also a video on how to write emails advisors respond to. And then he sends 2 power prospects a week. Okay, 2 power prospects a week, what we now call wow mailers. Let me tell you something about wow mailers. 50% meeting rate guaranteed, or your money back. 50% with anyone you want to meet with. I don't care how hard they meet with. You send 10, you're getting 5 meetings. So he wants 1 meeting with a top person every week. Adam, he gets 1. Okay? Ask around later if anyone's familiar with the wow mailers. They'll explain how those work. 2 power prospects a week. He does those 7 things. He knows he had a great week. Does he do anything else? Of course he does. But these are the proactive, significant things he has to do. Because if you notice about these things, these wouldn't get done automatically. You have to be proactive. These are the things that you have to focus on. The other parts of your business are reactive. I'm not sure of my time. That's why I'm talking so frickin' quick. This gentleman, territory for 1 year, very different kind of wholesaler, different pillars. He schedules 7 meetings for the future every week. He'd love to schedule 15. Now this is a minimum. Of course, he can schedule more, but for him, that's a predictable result. He also reviews his pipeline twice a week, okay? He has the same follow-up pillar as this gentleman that's in that video. Now, this next one is more for him. He spends 30 minutes a week learning direct response copywriting. For those who are not familiar with that term, direct response copywriting, that is how you write words to get people to respond. You would probably fail English, but it's very effective in the real world. And so what this gentleman is doing is he's learning to write emails, subject lines, the structure, and again, there's a training on this, so that advisors actually respond. Because guys, if you're having trouble getting meetings, there's only two reasons you're not getting a meeting, and it'll never change. Number 1, you have nothing they value. They're not willing to trade 30 minutes of their time or whatever for what you're offering. And Chris Felix is going to help you with that later. Number 2, you have something of value, but you can't articulate it quickly. And underline the word quickly about 5,000 times. You can't articulate your value in a subject line and a 1 or 2 sentence email or a 10-second voicemail. And until you can do that, you're going to have trouble getting meetings. Next one, 60 minutes of VAR strategy. Chris, I believe that is what you're going to talk on, right? Something similar to that, the non-product value add? Awesome. So my one thing, right, that I was crazy about at the beginning with my clients was non-product value add and figuring out what was actually valuable to advisors. There's an audio on the VAR strategy. He spends 60 minutes a week building his value, becoming more valuable every week, which he then articulates in these emails, which gets meetings. He then has a prospecting pillar, 30, 30, 10, and 4. That's 30 emails, 30 forwards of the previous emails. You'll understand that when you listen to the audio if you want on the email writing. He then calls 10 of those 30, and he leaves a voicemail that basically refers them to the email, right? It's a lot more powerful these days than asking for a call back. And then he does his 4 wow mailers. He then does 1 quick hit call invite blast every week. Look, if there's one thing, and some of you who heard I did something for you guys that was virtual, and I think Marlon recorded it and made it available. I talked in more depth about these quick hit calls and a couple of other things. The quick hit call is frickin' working. For you putting out an invite that says, next Thursday at 10 a.m., I'm doing a 4-minute call, a 7-minute call, a 9-minute call, some weird number so they know you're serious, that it's short, about this, if you can join us, great, blah, blah, blah. These quick hit calls are great one-to-many filtering systems to set up more meetings. And then the last pillar, he's got to make 3 cross-sell offers a week. What does that mean? For his company, they're compensating him to sell a different product than their flagship product. And so what it means is at least 3 times during the week, he has to introduce a different product to somebody in a meeting. Fair enough? Now again, I know I blasted through this really quickly, but what I want you to see is a combination of activity pillars, things you're just consistent with, and effectiveness pillars, always getting better, and letting that compound effect take over. I don't see the time person, but do I have time for a 90-second story? Oh, I got 6 minutes left? Oh. That guy said he was fast, right? Okay. Let me give you a little story, and then I'll talk about one other thing since I have the time. So I was at a conference. It was similar to this, but it was an industry conference. So it was really, really big. This is a number of years ago. And I was on a panel, and one of the people on the panel was a gentleman who I had worked with. And everybody in that room already knew from something else that this gentleman was a crusher. And it had like 3 of my clients up there, but I'm just talking about this one gentleman, okay? And they knew he was a crusher, and somebody asked him about his business plan, right? What his business plan was. And it was so freaking funny. He reaches into his pocket, and he might as well have pulled out a Velcro wallet. I don't know what it was, but he starts unfolding this little index card, and I knew right where he was going. I was like, okay, this could get embarrassing, right? He holds up his crinkled index card, and nobody can see anything on it. But this is what he says. He says, I don't change my business plan at the end of the year. He goes, I change it when I need to. He goes, this is my business plan. And this guy has earned 7 figures many times, all the awards you could think. He goes, and I don't remember exactly how many pillars he had, but he said, as long as I do these 6 things every week, everything else takes care of itself. He goes, this is my business plan. He goes, every time I go places, people want to add crap, they want to complicate it, they want to do this. He's like, this is my business plan, I adjust when necessary, right? But here's what the audience didn't know. He wasn't crushing it because of the simplicity of his business plan, his weekly strategy. That's not why he was crushing it. He was crushing it because those 6 things were the right things. He went through the system to figure out, where is my time and mental energy the most valuable? Look, the worst thing you can do for your business, the worst thing, is say yes to something because it might positively impact your business. That's the worst thing you can do because you're going to say yes to way too much. Your question needs to be, is this the best use of my time and mental energy? Because I would argue, and you'll know what I'm talking about at about 3 o'clock today, I will argue that long before the day is over, the bell goes off, you're done, the squawking bird tells Fred Flintstone it's time to go home, long before that, your mental energy will tap out. That's your true limiting resource. Okay, it's not hours in the day. And so you've got to decide where you get the best ROI. And here's what I'm going to end with because I have a little extra time. I believe that gentleman's name was Randy Fox. I don't want to insult anyone. Randy Cox? I apologize. By the way, I freaking loved that. I only got to see the last half of it. He said something about choosing the one thing and about, all the things you're going to learn. Here's my recommendation if you're going to use something like this pillar system. Okay, here's my recommendation. When you learn something this week, when you learn a technique or hear a new idea, here's how to sort it. Here's the triage. You ready? There's 4 things you can do with it. The first category is nothing, and I'm a big fan, and it sounded like Randy was too. Just because something's a new good idea doesn't mean you have to implement it in your business. My recommendation is put a note in your calendar for 6 months from now that says review my AWD notes, and in 6 months you'll be reminded, you'll look at your notes, and those ideas will be a lot more valuable then, or you might, so put that in your calendar. It'll be like you're coming back to the conference. So do nothing is option 1. Option 2, create a pillar around it if you want to do it every week, or maybe alter a pillar you have. It might cause you to alter one, change the criteria. Does that make sense? So if it's something you want to implement weekly, it becomes a pillar. Option 3, it's a task. What is a task? That just means you do it one time and it's done. Now it might take you a month to do it, right? I learned something, I want to redo my advisor list, I want to whatever, but it's a task. Right? So we got nothing, which is a good option. We have make it a weekly pillar or change a weekly pillar around it. We have create a task, right? Put that on your to-do list. And then the last thing is it's just a change of mindset. And by the way, here's the simplest way to think of mindset. 'Cause I know a lot of times when people hear mindset, they roll their eyes. And I'm not talking about walking across hot coals or anything like that. What I'm talking about is this. Mindset is just a change in the questions you ask. It's just a change in how you look at things, right? They're usually questions. So for example, what I just said, instead of saying yes because something could happen if I spend an entire day on a golf course with 2 people, right? You might say, you know what? Something could happen and that could help, but is that really the best use of 20% of my week? And you might change your mind. So that's a change of mindset. My recommendation here is write these questions down that you want to automatically ask. Put a standing appointment in your calendar every month. Just pick a day, every 3rd Wednesday, doesn't matter. Let it pop up as like a task. And all you got to do is just review them and then put them away. And add them as you learn them, review them, put them away, and eventually some of them will start becoming how you speak, all right? With that, I'm going to do something most people do. I'm actually going to finish early for you, Marlone, and who am I giving this to? You? All right, thanks. Thank you, guys.